going to go over the hearing from Friday where the reduction in force of federal workers was paused by a judge. A lot of what I'm going to talk about is specific to the Department of Education, but this applies to all of the planned layoffs. They are all paused. In case you missed it, during the government shutdown, which is still happening, federal workers received notices that they were RIFed. That's a layoff, a firing, whatever you want to call it. They got a notice saying that their last day of work was going to be December 9th. That is not really even allowed to be happening during a shutdown because you can't allocate new funds and they would have to have severance. So right off the bat, not looking good for legality. I listened to the entire hearing where the same judge who paused the last reduction in force, she was presiding over it again. Right out the gate, she says, I think these were illegal. I think I'm going to pause them. She says, employees were forbidden to go through their work emails while they were on furlough. Remember, the government was shut down? Government workers were furloughed. And a lot of them were like, okay, I'm going to leave my laptop at work. And then they were maybe given RIF notices. It was like really not good. Or some people had their email password expired and IT is not there to help them because they're furloughed too. HR is furloughed, so they can't help anybody. And then HR is also sending themselves RIF notices, which is crazy. Employees couldn't navigate the RIF process without help from HR. And then there were pregnant employees about to give birth who were afraid that they've lost health insurance, but they can't get help from HR. Some of them left their laptops, so they don't even know if they're RIFed, and they're just like panicking. There's such a lack of clarity that the judge said that she kept receiving revised documents because, again, they go into these federal agencies with sledgehammers and just cut whatever. They have no thought behind their cuts. They cut people at HHS who were researching measles outbreaks that were caused by the head of HHS. Calm down. She says, quote, things are being done before they're thought through. Yeah, no kidding. This is crazy. Russell Vogt kind of scoffed and said, we're having fun. He's having fun. In case you don't know, Russell Vogt is the head guy who orchestrated Project 2025. He was caught on camera during election season talking about how he was going to implement all the things in Project 2025. Meanwhile, Trump is like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then he assigned Russell Vogt to be the head of OMB, his budget people. Anyway, so Vogt referred to laying off 4,000 federal workers as having fun, which is fucked up. The judge said, you can't do that within a nation of laws, and we have laws here. We still do, somehow. Okay, so then the defense comes up to the stand, and this judge was fucking sick of her. She at one point said, you really drew the short end of the stick with this case, because she didn't argue the last case where the judge said a lot of the same things that she's saying to her now. The defense didn't prepare to address the merits of the case, and the judge said, just because you didn't prepare to doesn't mean you don't have to. So you've chosen not to talk about it, but I'm asking you to talk about it. She also noted that they don't have a defense for why it's okay to do what they are doing. The September 24th notice named Democrats by name and says that they shut down the government over a series of insane demands. So Trump is blaming the Democrats for the shutdown and is calling for Democrat-oriented firings. Any argument that the defense could make saying that these are not politically motivated is totally negated by all the shit that Trump and Vogt are saying because they can't stop running their mouths. She also cited the fact that there was that Grim Reaper video on social media showing them, it was very, very freaking weird. So remember how I told you that they fired the people working on measles outbreaks? They tried to blame it on an error. So this is a disaster. This is a mess. The judge is not impressed. She's ripping the defense apart. I know that she sat in silence and or cried on the way home from this hearing. The defense basically was arguing if people are fired, they can sue in civil court later. The plaintiff attorney was like, losing your health care is not something you can just fix later, especially if you're pregnant. Hello. So the defense's argument there's not irreparable harm because the fired employees can just sue in lower courts is bullshit. And the judge was like, that hasn't even worked all the time. So you're telling them to go sue in lower courts and probably lose their case while you just go through with a wrecking ball and fire people. It makes no sense. So all in all, the judge was like, I'm going to issue a temporary restraining order, and there's going to be a new hearing on October 28th. Another Truth Social post that she referenced is Let me read you the whole thing. I have a meeting today with Russ Vogt, he of Project 2025 fame, to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut, and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. They are not stupid people, so maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly make America great again. President DJT. It's worth noting, I think, that the previous reduction in forces were paused, but they were not stopped. And if this reduction in force is not stopped, it's going to be pretty catastrophic. I can't speak to the other agencies, but at the Department of Education, he is laying off all of the people that work in special education and distribute and approve the money for IDEA. What they want to do is send the money to states as a block grant. And the reason we have the Department of Education is because states were so irresponsible with their money before. Not all states are created equal. 17 states still have corporal punishment marked as legal at schools. So, I don't want these states to just do whatever they want with their money. They need to have guidance. They need to have oversight. And the people who do that are going to be let go if these are unpaused and allowed to continue. So, I'm going to be keeping an eye on this. Those are all of my notes from the other day. It was just wild. Follow me for updates, I guess.